Good evening, everyone. Good evening, and
Good.
welcome again to Witness to History. And again, happy Valentine's Day to everybody. And I would also like to happy Valentine's Day 2021. So last year, we were actually able to celebrate it without being in the experience we've had since March. All right. So we're coming up on a year. And since this is the first Witness to History for this year, I would like also to say Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2021. January is definitely a busy month, but here we are now for another fun and exciting opportunity to get to know one of our neighbors better. We all have a wonderful story to tell, and tonight we will have the pleasure of learning more about the many talents of Ceil Baldridge. But before we get started, once again, I have some thank yous. I'd like to thank John, of course, for being behind the controls and making sure everything was, ready for this evening before we all came on board. And of course, Lee and Kevin, Kay, and Colin, of course, for all that you do for our Moreland community. And of course, Kamala Lewis and Megan Hayes. Thank you for being here, Megan, for always sharing Witness to History with the broader Shaker community. Thank you all. Okay, I have some sort of title. I don't know if you've noticed every time we have an opportunity to have a conversation with our neighbor. This one I'm going to call, and I didn't share this with you, Ceil, but I'm going to call this Strike This Pose. Okay, strike this pose. Okay. So, Ceil Baldridge, good evening. How are you today?
I am doing well,
Yes.
and I want to say good evening to everyone who has joined in.
Yes. Thank you so much for being our guest this evening. You have a story to tell. You really do. And as we always start off, or usually the conversation comes around and says, why did you decide to move to Shaker? And when did you move to Shaker?
I moved to Shaker in '92, and I like their education system. I like the environment, and I, I love everything about Shaker.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
wonderful. And you're coming to us this evening from Library Courts. So
Yes,
that,
I am. Yeah.
yes, so that's really nice. I had shared with you the other day that I was on the library board when Library Courts was being built. So
Mhm.
that was, a nice, and living on Shelton Road. I said, oh, this building's going to block my view. And then when I saw the building, I said, oh, that's really all right.
Yes,
It's a beautiful
yes.
building. It's beautiful. So, let's start off early in your life. Let's talk about your family, your father, your mother, your early years. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us about your father and your mother. And we're going to understand how it is that Ceil is an artist at heart when you hear her story.
My parents were very talented. My dad was an artist and a musician, and my mother was a music teacher. And I didn't have a choice but to be surrounded with the arts, and I enjoyed it. I learned a lot, and it became a passion after a while, and especially in high school. And after high school, I knew I was going to major in art, and so I had a scholarship to Cooper Union,
Mm.
and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed New York. I love New York City. I'm not saying anything about Cleveland, but I really love New York, and I go there as often as I can.
Okay.
Still do.
So high school, you are a blue bomber. Is
I'm a
that
Blue Bomber, East
okay?
High.
So
Yes.
yeah, okay. So for everybody, for people who don't know, that is East High School here in Cleveland. And I understand that you were, have musical talents as well. Did you play an instrument when you were in high school?
I played the flute. I ended up with the flute. I started. I started with the piano and then the recorder and then the flute.
Okay, there you are in the middle, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, nice picture. Very nice. Very
Thank
nice.
you.
So, so you are, and this is really, very interesting story in terms of what your passion was. And, your parents are musicians. You had shared with me that there was a gift that your father gave to you when you were young that may have sparked your interest
Yes.
and sent you on your way. And what was that gift?
When I was 10 years old, my father gave me a Brownie camera, a Kodak
Okay.
Brownie camera.
Anybody remember
And
those?
yes, and I went wild. I started taking pictures of my parents and anyone else that came to the house. And it got to a point that my father had to say, okay, we're not going to do this every time we have company. But I really enjoyed taking pictures. And then it lasts forever. I just love it. And I still do.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
We're going to see some of your photography. Well, tell us about Cooper Union. Oh, there's a picture that you can, tell us about. Your photography speaks for itself. And you went,
That,
go right
oh,
ahead.
I'm sorry. That was one of my coworkers at my job, and she was a dancer on the side and a gymnast. So I told her I would like to take her movements,
Mm,
and she said sure, and I enjoyed it. I have more of hers, but th- I like the lighting in
yeah,
this one. It's
that's absolutely,
Rembrandt lighting.
that's absolutely beautiful. Tell us about your years at Cooper Union. So this is, I mean, that's really something for, first of all, you're right out of high school. You go to New York City. You're following your passion. But tell us about your time there at Cooper Union.
Cooper Union was an experience. It I enjoyed it after the first year. The first year was very difficult
Mm,
because I had to learn the surroundings and the building. Well, actually, the campus. Um, some of my academic subjects I took at NYU,
mhm.
and at that time, it was a requirement for a BFA. And so I got lost several times.
Mm.
My only landmark is Washington Square,
Okay.
and I didn't have a problem. Then I knew which way I had to go.
Okay.
But my classes I enjoyed. They were
Mm,
very intense classes, and in portraiture and landscape and seascape. And I was developing
mm,
my mediums. I I liked, and charcoal and pastel
mm,
is what I really like.
mm,
That's an older picture I did at Cooper,
mm,
and I'm feel sorry it isn't clear, but
mm.
I did that one in pastel,
Oh,
and I sold it after I came back to Cleveland.
oh.
Yeah, another artist or sculptor here, Jamoka. I don't know if anyone knew
Hmm.
him. He
Name is,
lived in Cleveland Heights, and he wanted it, and I sold it to him.
oh,
Yeah,
nice. Beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. So this is Cooper Union, the
that's
picture?
our new building.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's the new one,
I
and
was gonna,
it's beautiful inside.
unique. Very
Yeah,
unique
it is very
architecture.
unique. Yeah.
Yes. Well, that had to have been exciting for you as right out of high school, right in New York City. But you knew and
Yes.
on a scholarship. So that says a lot about the talent that you had that you took with you. That's
Well,
that's
yes,
that's something.
yes.
That's wonderful. And so so tell us a little bit more about your father, because I know he was a musician. The arts, I just want to, help everybody
Hmm.
understand just how the arts were always just around you. You said that he played
Yes.
in bands and met a number of people along the way.
Yes. He played keyboards and double string bass, and he enjoyed it. In Cleveland, he played at some of the night spots,
Hmm.
here. And I went to hear him once, but then I didn't go to the other spots. He told me not to go to those, so I didn't. But
Okay.
but he also played in the service,
Hmm.
and he played in the children's.
Hmm.
I'm trying to think what they would call that. The children.
Children's circuit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Children's
he
circuit.
enjoyed. Yes, and he had a lot of tales about those, and
Okay.
I enjoyed those. And he was an artist as well.
Hmm.
Um, he when he went into the army,
Hmm.
he was selected as a photographer,
Hmm.
and so he painted. Yeah,
Hmm.
that was their war room,
Oh
and
my goodness.
yeah, and he did all of that.
Wow. My goodness. What inspiration for you. So there's no
Yeah.
surprise. Very often, sometimes parents are a little bit nervous about their children saying, okay, I want to be an artist, I want to be a photographer or paint and whatever. And your family was probably saying, well, what else do you want to do? Of course, this is what you, of course.
Well, my mother guided me away from music. I wanted to
Oh,
be a musician, and she said, "No, no, no,
uh-oh.
you're not going to be a musician." I wasn't that disciplined with
Mm,
music. I
okay.
was more so with art, and you do have to be very disciplined with music.
Yeah.
And I wasn't that dedicated to it. I loved it,
Hmm.
but I wasn't that dedicated to it.
Now, this is your
So
mother with her students?
that's her class. Yeah, her last class at Dunham Elementary School,
Okay.
and she retired after that.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Oh, that's wonderful. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So after Cooper Union, so you were in New York, you got your Bachelor of Fine Arts degree, came to Cleveland, came back to Cleveland right after graduation. And
Yes.
so tell us a little bit about some of the jobs that you had actually where you were able to use the degree that you had just achieved.
When I first came back, I tried advertising agency here, and a couple department stores advertising department, and they weren't hiring.
Mm.
So I said, well, I'm not going to get a regular 9 to 5. So what am I going to do? So I created my own business, a
Mm.
logo design business in home. And a couple of neighbors had their businesses, and I asked them if I could design their logos and
Mm.
business cards, and they were happy to
Nice.
accommodate me on that. And I stayed with that business 6 years, 5 or
Okay.
6 years. Yeah.
So this is some of
And
your recognition.
I loved it. Yeah. Yeah.
That's something. That's really so you freelanced. You were an entrepreneur. John,
Yeah.
when you go back to the card, that's your business card actually.
Yeah. That's my card from 8 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So when we see you with a camera, we should not be surprised. Huh?
Well, I'm more of a studio photographer. I do freelance beyond that, but I majored in studio photography.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I know there's another picture that yes, some of the other pictures that you've taken. So this
Yes,
probably
I
makes
did
it.
a couple of composites, modeling composites for neighbors who were entering, their modeling of profession and or trying to. And I did a few, yeah.
Okay, all right. Look at these. They're just, your photography is just breathtaking. It's just wonderful. It's
Well, thank
wonderful.
you.
So, so tell us a little bit more. I know that you did photography, graphic arts, and then you decided to change careers. So, which direction did you go in?
I went into the medical profession. Well, would say it's more healthcare,
Mhm.
but I did have to go back to school. I had to go back to Tri C, and I took biomedical courses and computer courses. And the first time I used my computer experience or education was in a home business.
Mm,
Um, our family established computer teaching or tutoring at Cleveland daycares,
mm,
and that was our start when the computers came out. Macintosh
wow.
had just come out, and those computers heavy, and we used a van and went from daycare to daycare,
Mm.
and it was called Computer for Kids,
Oh, wow.
and we covered Youngstown as
Mm,
well. And then after that, I started at CDC, and
mhm.
then I moved to Shaker,
And that's so CDC is
Centers
Cleveland
for Dialysis Care. Yeah,
Dialysis Care. Hmm.
yeah. And our headquarters, because that's where that picture is from, is on Chagrin in
Hmm.
Barnsley. And I had to go back to school, and they also trained you too. You know, I had to be trained there at CDC as well.
Hmm.
And I started there as an aide and then worked up as a facility manager assistant. And I worked 3 counties:
Mm.
Geauga, Cuyahoga, and Mentor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
A complete shift in terms of your
Yes.
career.
But I loved it. I loved it. I
Oh,
stayed 13 and a half years
oh,
with
wonderful.
them. Yeah.
Wonderful. And there's something else that you do. There's another photo. You teach classes. What are the classes that you teach? Is it Tai Chi?
Oh, I did. I volunteered here at Library Court when I first moved in as a activity. Well, I volunteered,
Mhm.
and I taught it here for a couple of months, and they were interested. They were really the residents were really interested. That photo is from 30 years ago.
Mm.
when I was in Arizona at that
Mm.
time. Yeah.
So you've been with it for a while.
Oh yeah, yeah. I do it every day.
Oh,
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah. I
Uh,
do the shorter version
Okay.
now, not the 108 moves. No,
Oh,
not any longer. I
okay.
don't. Uh,
Okay, you see, I don't know, 108 moves. All right. All right.
yeah.
I want to kind of go back into some of the jobs that you had. You had some
Mhm.
interesting positions, and sometimes people who you worked with didn't necessarily want to give you all of the responsibility that you knew that you could have. So, tell us about some of the places that you worked, even if you don't necessarily identify where it was. But you said that you had a number of places that you worked when you came back to Cleveland, when you were, out of college.
Yes, I worked for an advertising agency who had me going to wonderful assignments. The Musical Arts Association. I worked there in communications, and also the Crawford Auto Museum in
Yeah.
communications,
Mm,
and I love that. Um, they sent me to First Bank, which was a black
mhm.
bank here in Cleveland,
Yeah.
and I worked there a week, and I was hired after that to keep the position as a computer operator on those old Xerox machines, and they closed a week after that,
Mm, mm,
and I was very disappointed.
mhm,
So after that, I worked for a publishing company here, PW Publishing Company, which everyone knows as Call and Post.
mm, mhm,
And I worked there in production
mm,
as a key line and paste up, which uh, that doesn't exist anymore. Key line and paste up
mm.
doesn't exist
Okay.
anymore. But I, I worked there for a few years, and I did freelance illustrating for a writers guild
Mm,
that was housed at Karamu,
mm,
and
mhm,
that was very interesting.
mhm.
So those are some of the other jobs that I had.
That's wonderful. And you earlier on, we had a couple of conversations, and you told me about some of the opportunities that you had to meet artists at the front row. Anybody in the room remember the front row?
Oh,
Anybody remember the front row? Okay, everybody's saying, "Yeah, I
when
remember the front row." I never figured out
I
why having Coles there was more important than having the front
yeah,
row. Okay. All right. Tell us about the time that you spent at the front row and some of the artists you were able to
I
see.
volunteered there on weekends. That was when I lived in Cleveland Heights,
Mm,
and I couldn't wait to see who was going to play there, and when the audience was not completely full, ushers, I, I was a volunteer usher, I
mhm.
could sit there and listen to the rest of the show, halftime. So um, one weekend, Lionel Hampton was coming, and I knew my father knew him, and um, I said, "This is going to be a good gift." And it happened to be in July, which is his birthday month,
Oh, nice.
and it was after his birthday, and so I arranged with the manager, his manager, if I could bring my father to his dressing room, and he said he would let me know. And next thing I knew, intermission, he waved to me, and I got my dad up, and I said, I have to show you something. And he said, okay. So he followed me there, and then when the manager opened the door, and Lionel Hampton saw my dad saw him. They were they almost cried, and
Oh,
they
oh,
embraced and hugged and
oh,
wanted to know what their life was like now and everything. So
yes.
that was a gift, and he talked about that for a long time.
Oh, what a wonderful
Yeah,
gift. That's a wonderful gift. I'm sure you saw a number of wonderful artists there.
I did it. I enjoyed
Yes,
it.
yes. Well, I would go, but I had to pay. I
I
should have
know. Well,
volunteered.
that's
I would
why
have
I
seen.
wanted to usher so I could see it free.
I should have ushered. I should have ushered, but it was just, really sad when it was gone. It was such a
I
wonderful
know. I
venue.
hated that too.
They said
Yeah.
every seat in the house was a good one, because it
Oh, yes, it
spun
was.
around and the
Mhm.
stage would revolve. So that was really wonderful.
Yeah.
So you have a son. We talked about your son. Tell us a bit about your son. So you said that one of the reasons, and very often the reason that we moved to Shaker is because of the schools. So your son went to Shaker schools and then graduated from Cleveland schools, right? But tell us
Yes.
a bit about your son.
My son enjoyed music and art as well. And
Mhm.
he sang in a choir in junior high school,
Mm.
in middle school. And the choir sang at a intermission at the a soccer game here when Cleveland had a soccer team.
Mhm.
And that was really nice. And he is into music as a hobby, you know,
Mhm.
but he's a good cook.
I
He's
see.
an excellent cook.
Oh, okay.
Um, and every time I visit him, I can't wait to have him grill something.
Now, where does he live? Where is he?
In Atlanta, Georgia area. So,
Okay.
and I love going down there and seeing my grandchildren too.
All right.
And I love it there. I
Yeah,
really
a
do.
lot
I'm
of
not
people.
going to live there, but I love it.
Yes, yes, yes. And you also talked about your granddaughter who's also in music, right?
She plays several instruments. Yeah,
Mm.
the trumpet. Um, let's see, the French horn,
Mm.
guitar, and I bought her a flute for Christmas.
Oh,
So
wow.
she picked it up with no problem.
Oh, wow. Just
Yeah,
multi-talented. Well,
yeah.
you all got the gene. I mean, you got the gene from every which side. And you talk more broadly, about your family. I understand you have a cousin who is a name that people may know, Patty
Um,
Austin.
I'm sorry.
Patty Austin.
Oh yes, she she is a second cousin, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, she's a very interesting person. I've only met her once because she travels a lot and stays overseas a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And she, has dual citizenship. So
Mm-hmm.
she comes when she can. And I haven't talked to her in a while.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
That's nice. That's nice. Just to kind of drop a name of somebody that
I know.
some folks might be familiar with. Some people might be
Uh,
familiar with. So,
mhm.
in terms of your photography now, what do you do or just your art? What do you do just to keep yourself busy? Or, I'm sure that there are plenty of
Mhm.
things that you still continue to do.
I do. I do a lot of print work now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, I still work in pastel and charcoal,
Mm.
and the studio um, photography I haven't done because of the COVID,
Mm-hmm.
and
Sure.
you have to set up your equipment and have close contact, you
Mm-hmm.
know, with your subject, and that I can't.
Mm-hmm.
So um, I just experiment with my printing,
Mm-hmm.
um, which involves, ooh, I don't want to really get into the details.
Okay.
It's fun. I'll put it that way. I'm
Okay.
experimenting.
Okay, okay, good. Now I want to open for questions from our community. Does anybody have any questions or just comments? I know that I remember the our Here and Now play was it last year? Was that
Yeah.
2020 or was it 2019? And
It
you
was
were there
last year.
with was it last year? Okay, February.
Yes,
Right, so we just made it. Right, Monica, we just made it. And
Yeah.
yes,
Ceil was there with her camera.
yes.
Yes. Any questions? Yes, but Bertina, I saw your hand.
Yes. Could you, my daughter, I have a daughter, she's a junior right now, Shaker Heights High School, and she's very interested in photography right now. Could you tell me more about your path of photography and the school that you attended in New York?
I attended Cooper Union, and now it's called Cooper School of Art and Science and Architecture. And the campus is small, and they offer free tuition
Oh,
for qualified students,
Mhm.
you know.
Okay.
And so you can contact them online. They will have your requirements, tuition requirements, and they do have a resident hall. Now they do.
Mm.
When I attended, they didn't have one. And it's really an interesting atmosphere there. It is good. Yeah.
Free
She,
tuition.
just got the silver key with the Shaker Heights City School District for her
Uh-huh.
photographer. She played.
Oh, good.
She gets the silver
Mm.
key with CIA, the Cleveland Institute of Art.
Oh, very good. Yeah, yeah. I took some evening courses there after I came home too. So yeah, and that's an excellent school
Oh, great. Okay.
as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
All
Mhm.
right. Any other questions, comments? Mrs. Hooper?
Yes, you partially answered my question, but I was just wondering whether or not you've begun to get actively involved with the facility where you live. Some of the members of the facility there with your artistic abilities. Have they begun to get involved, or have you begun to get them involved with your artistic abilities?
Yes. I volunteer with the resident coordinator here, and we have had craft classes, and we invite any seniors outside of our building as well. And we have had musical concerts with the students from the Cleveland Institute of Music. We had a few of them here. And yeah, I get involved here a lot. So, and I enjoy it. And you're welcome to come whenever we plan anything else. And after this pandemic is over with, yeah, right now we're not doing anything. And it's very disappointing. You know, a lot of residents are really disappointed. But we are planning to do more after this. And you are welcome to come. And you too, your son is also welcome to come. And yes, and play for us.
That would be nice. That would
Yeah,
Let us know we are interested. Please let us know.
very good. I'm glad to know that. Okay, you will be contacted then.
Thank you.
yes. Other questions, comments, curiosities?
I have one.
Oh, Sharon?
Go
Yeah.
ahead,
Yes.
Sharon.
Thank you, Ceil, for sharing all that interesting information in your travels that you did. You and I didn't meet until you moved into Shaker. You were a neighbor to us at the community building. And I remember you always speaking about your family and especially your son. You traveled a lot to visit him. And I remember you said he always treated you like a queen and he spoiled you. And I wanted to thank you for the picture that you put up of him. Now I could put a face with all the nice things you shared about him.
Oh, yes, yes. Those aprons in that picture, I bought them for Christmas 2 years ago. And he saw his and he was really excited until he saw his wife's. And then he said, oh no, I said, oh yeah, she's gonna wear that one.
Right, she's the
The real
real
boss.
right.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
nice. That's nice. We have a question. Kevin, I think I saw your hand. Did you have a question?
Yes, it's kind of a broad question, but I've been in a lot of as we've had these different kinds of conversations, especially virtually over the last year, I've been in a number of conversations with Ceil, and Ceil, somehow just always in the course of a conversation, you're mentioning some other place in the country that you're, you know, it's somewhere on the West Coast, or it's somewhere on the East Coast, or it's somewhere in the South, or and just wondering, what are some of the other places that that you've been to around the country? It sounds like you've traveled quite extensively.
I spent some time in Cheyenne, Wyoming, at Francis E. Warren Air Force Base. At that time, it was with my husband, and well, former husband, and also in Mesa, Arizona, and Victorville, California, and Miami, Florida. And I traveled to Connecticut a lot, Bridgeport. I have family there, and New York, of course. That is my heart. I call it my heart. I spent so much time there. But I also spent a lot of time in my parents' home state, and that's in West Virginia. And I love it. I know it like the back of my hand. I've been there so many times over my lifetime. And I love that state. If you really want to get away from all of the hustle, that's the place to go. And it's really quiet, serene. They were from a town in Bluefield, West Virginia. And they went to college there at Bluefield State. And that's a lovely town.
That's nice to know. And it's close.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you
Yeah.
know, yes, West Virginia is our neighbor. So, I mean, that's quite a recommendation. Once all of this pandemic is behind us,
Yes.
you know, we can move around a little bit easier. There's a question in the chat. This is my sister, Diane McIntyre. The question, can you speak? Oh, do you want to ask it, Diane? You came on.
Yes, I came on.
Yeah.
Yes, I have, I'm really enjoying your comments and all about your life. Fascinating.
Thank you.
Life to move from this to that, to this to that, and to have an artist life is very just kind of daring to do that. So I wanted to ask you, you spoke about that you studied portraiture photography. Is that right?
Studio photography.
Studio photography. What are other areas in the study of photography? What other areas in photography would people go into?
It's the other avenues would be for news reporting, journal of photography, also science, which is more of the I was at the time I was in school, it was for medical books and science books, and that's a completely different technique in taking pictures. And natural lighting, a marine photographer who only shoots water scenes or landscapes, and real estate or business. Oh, there are a lot of branches in photography.
Okay.
And not everyone, you specialize, you spend your time in what you are strong in. And so I tried quite a few areas, and I chose studio photography. I like the lighting effects on a subject. And my favorite is Rembrandt lighting. and that's highlighting certain areas of a person's face or their movement. And I like that. And also entertainment photographers who specialize in stage. And that's very challenging. I've tried that, and it's very challenging um, because of the lighting effects on a stage. So yeah, it's different areas.
Wow, a whole lot.
Oh yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yes, it is.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
You know,
And Colin has a question here. I'll read. Is there anything in particular that's inspiring you right now?
Inspiring me right now. Yes. I have artwork hanging in my hallway, and I pass by, especially my prints. And I stand there and I look and I try to decide, now, what am I going to do next with these prints? Yeah, I have a portfolio of sketches and drafts, and I have a sketching diary. And I go through that every day, and I look and I look and I look, and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do. But before the summer starts, I'll probably engage in a couple of printing projects. And I also would like to include Barbara Lewton art contest at the Shaker Heights
Yeah.
Library is also good. And I entered there 3 times and I was accepted. They are very hard to get into. I mean, you know, to get your work accepted. And I was surprised and very lucky that I got accepted. And it's a good show. They didn't have it this year, though. I mean, last year they didn't have it. So I hope that they will have it this coming late spring. It's when they usually have it.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to that. If not, I'll do it next year.
Never an end to what it is that you're.
No.
Yeah, right. Never an end to what you can think of doing next. Any other questions? Any other questions?
No, Ceil, this is Al Foster. I want to say you have been one of my favorite people over there at Library Court. And thanks to you, you started the neighborhood group in Library Court when the management was not real receptive to you and the other residents. And I thank you and they thank you too. And
Well, thank you.
your story is so, so interesting because we've talked so many times, but there's so many things that you were talking about that I didn't know about you. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's our special gift with Witness to History. Well, you know, I guess we don't necessarily have conversations and talk about what we do. So this is really an opportunity for our community to just, you know, to share, you know, and as an artist, Ceil, certainly we're going to look out for your work. Every time we see any opportunity, you know, to see your artwork, we'll say, we know Ceil Baldridge, you know. You know.
I feel flattered. Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Oh, I wanted to say something.
Yeah, sure.
It's Monica.
Monica, yes.
Ceil and I only got a chance to really talk when she did the photography for the show last February. And what struck me as interesting is you never know who knows someone you know. And my sister was in the audience and she runs squealing and they hug each other, and it turns out they had worked together. And Ceil had also worked with my father over at the CDC down the street. So I always thought that was interesting. We had been talking for weeks and didn't even know that connection until that moment.
Wow.
Yeah. And they were fun to work with. I really enjoyed, I learned a lot from them too,
Oh, well,
especially your dad. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Our neighbors bring it all together. Carmela.
Thank you, Ceil. Your story is awesome.
Oh, thank
Hey, I do have a question for you because you are in the arts. Um, w- would you say that your pieces have um, a little something that would tell a viewer that that is a Ceil piece of art, like a signature piece, lighting or something?
the lighting effect. Yeah, is my signature in uh, studio photography. It is, and I have more of those pieces, but I didn't have the subjects sign a release. So I could not sh- show all of them. And that one I did get a release form for. But yeah, it's the lighting effect in portrait and in movement. Yeah.
Mhm. That's really, really special, because I know, everybody certainly cannot take photography of movement and capture the lighting and all. It's just beautiful, beautiful, and so valuable. Now, in terms of cameras, talk about cameras. What's the best camera out there now? Or what do you use?
I use, and I'm not going to get into the specifics, but I'm going to tell you the cameras I use, SLR cameras, and which stands for single lens reflex. And I had a Minolta. I love that. I had a Nikon, and now I'm currently using a Canon,
Mm,
and I enjoy that. And it's a digital camera,
mm,
and it has what I might say is a manual override where I can just create um, effects when
mm,
I take a picture, or either I could just use a digital f-stop or shutter speed, and it captures or adjusts to the lighting and in sharpness. So I don't say it's the best camera, but I like the Canon. It's easier to use now. When I started out and when I did this as a profession, Nikon, I have to say, is an excellent camera.
mm.
All of their cameras are excellent.
Oh, wonderful.
They're heavier,
Mm,
but they have a better quality
mm,
mirror. Um, they have a convex and concave mirror in your camera base, and it's it's sharper. And I like the Canon, but nowadays I I like the digital cameras.
oh, okay.
Yeah, it's quicker, and I don't have to fumble with the f-stops, the
Okay.
shutter speeds.
Okay. I'm going to share all of this with my grandson.
Okay.
He's a budding photographer. I'm going to say, Nikon.
Oh, okay, good.
Now you have an aunt who is in Connecticut. So share with us, the special tribute to your aunt there.
Oh, my aunt has passed away since then.
Mhm.
She was the state senator of Connecticut, Margaret E. Morton, and she was my uncle's wife, my dad's brother, and one of his brothers. And she was a very nice person, very nice. I enjoyed going to Connecticut, and the bottom left picture is my mom, my uncle, and my Aunt Margaret. And the bottom right is my aunt again, another cousin, and my uncle and I at my father's art exhibit. That was in the Martin Luther King Library here in Cleveland. And he had more works in the back room there. And I had 2 pieces of illustrations I did for 2 books for a writer. And the top left is my cousin, which is my aunt's oldest son, and his wife, and his sister, and my younger cousin, who's holding the picture of Aunt Margaret, and a friend of theirs is in back there. It was a dedication to her building. They named a new government building after her. Yeah.
Wow. Wow, what an honor.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? This is Ceil, my goodness. So as we come together as neighbors and, you know, say hello, how are you? We just don't know what a story we have to tell. And yours is, you know, just so exciting, just so exciting. You know, it's so nice to get to know our neighbors better. And
Yes,
I
it
always
is.
want to say that as the host of Witness to History, I hear the stories before everybody else does. So it makes me feel really privileged, you know, to know before we come together with everybody else. But as we know more, you know, it just broadens the conversations that we can have with each other. And one of the
Yes.
things, yes, that we can say, we have art in Moreland. We have some artists in Moreland. Of course, you know,
Yes.
the last issue, the Shaker Life magazine issue,
Mhm.
Sam Hooper, of course, was there. My daughter
Yes.
was there. I mean, art abounds in Moreland, in Shaker. But it was
Yes.
so wonderful that Moreland was represented. For those represented in the magazine and for those who are not, like you, Ceil, you know, you bring this to us, and you know, art is part of what we need in our lives. And you know, it's
Yes.
very important to us during, you know, especially during this time. So with that,
Excuse me,
yes, go ahead.
Seal. Are you doing the studio photography now in at Library Court?
No, we have shut down here because of the COVID.
Oh, I see.
So I usually do in-home shooting, and
Oh, I see.
but that's going to have to wait until after the COVID too. Yeah.
Okay. Mhm. And have you and your cousin been able to do any collaboration over the years? Patty Austin?
Which cousin is?
Patty
Oh
Austin?
no.
No.
She has been in China for a couple of years, and
Where?
or is in China.
Yeah, where?
I'm not. I couldn't pronounce the town if I
Okay.
saw it, but I could find out. Yeah,
All right. Yeah.
yeah, and also in Germany, we have another cousin who's in Austin, and he's an opera singer there, and his son Michael Austin and
Mm.
Kevin Austin. Yeah, and she goes back and forth. So
Oh.
she comes here on occasion. She doesn't come back to the States that much anymore.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Cool info.
Just absolutely wonderful. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing.
Well, thank you for having me. I enjoyed it. I didn't, I was kind of reluctant at first, and I said, well, why not?
Yeah, thank you. We're glad that you said why not. And yes, you stepped
Yeah.
forward. This is wonderful. I also want to thank everybody else for being with us this evening. And I'd like to make a little announcement, you know, of my own. On Thursday, February 18th, I've been invited to be a guest speaker for the Shaker Heights Historical Society. So, yes, yes. So this will be interesting. So the name of my presentation is America, Race, and Me. And so it's at 6 o'clock. So you can just go to the Shaker Historical Society website and log on. I think it's on Facebook Live on Thursday evening at 6.
Good.
Yes, there's a lot going on that day. So I'm in the middle of many other, events on Zoom, but, or virtually. So hopefully many of you will be able to join us that evening. But I would like to thank everybody for being here this evening, and thank you, Ceil. A special thank you to you.
Well, thank you for
Oh,
having me, and I
oh,
enjoyed it.
Sure, sure. So we know who our guest is going to be next month. I'm not going to tell unless, someone wants to pipe in. But any and everybody can be a guest on Witness to History, please, please. And so here's my information. So if you're interested, just give me a call or send me a text. Texting is better because that way I know that you're not trying to sell me car insurance, okay? Something like that, so if you text me, just tell me who you are, or, just send an email to me and say, yes, I'd like to do it. It may not be anytime soon, but anytime in the future is fine as well. Because as long as we can keep this going, I'll be around and be your host. And again, it's such a pleasure for me to have this opportunity to do this from month to month. And we'll look forward to having everybody with us again next month. Actually, we will be here second Sunday, which I do believe again is March 14th. And we'll announce our guest at that time or before that time. And I hope everybody has a good evening. And let's hope that the prediction for whatever weather they said we were going to get, let's hope that they were wrong. Let's hope they were wrong because it didn't happen today. All right.
Yeah.
Everybody have a wonderful evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Please.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for
Thanks,
everything.
Donna. Thanks, Ceil.
Bye.
Thanks, John.
Thank
You
you.
guys.
Ceil.
Thanks,
Great
Ceil.
interview.
Thanks, Donna.
Thank you.
Learned a lot.
We learned a lot about you. Thank you. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yes, thank you, Ceil. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.